إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله حق الجهاد حتى أتاه اليقين فصلوات ربي وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته واكتفى بهديه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أجارني الله وإياكم من النار ثم أما بعد. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد وصينا الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم وإياكم أن اتقوا الله. Allah Azza wa Jal says, and we have instructed the people that have been given the scripture before you and yourselves to have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, to have God consciousness and fear of Allah. A big chunk, a big part of taqwa is to be conscious of Allah Azza wa Jal at all times, in the times of ease and in the times of hardship. And this consciousness must constitute trust and reliance and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal's decree. That Allah Azza wa Jal's decree is best for you, best for your dunya and best for your akhirah. Because as Muslims, we believe that Allah created all of creation and all affairs return unto Allah Azza wa Jal. Not a single affair takes place in this world except Allah Azza wa Jal is knowing of it. Allah gives life and He takes life. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that sends down sickness and sends with it its cure. Through Allah Azza wa Jal's permission, do people or are people given their livelihood. Some are tested with wealth and some are tested with poverty. Allah Azza wa Jal tests some with victory and tests some and others with failure and loss. All affairs return unto Allah Azza wa Jal, and all affairs are by the permission of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, having this trust and this reliance and this confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal is an act of worship. An act of worship that originates from the heart. But what does it mean to have confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal and trust in Him? In Arabic, الثقة بالله. What is الثقة بالله? What is this confidence? And what is this trust in Allah Azza wa Jal? And what does it mean to have trust and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal? And what is the consequence of a person? And what is the result of a person that has confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal? And as well, what is the result and the consequence of a person that does not have confidence and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal? To properly understand the concept of confidence and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, I want to take you with me on a ride in an aeroplane, 40,000 feet above sea level, traveling at a speed of 900 kilometers an hour. Pretty much how all aeroplanes travel. But I want to open the door for you and tell you to jump. Will you? Will you jump if I told you to? How about if I promised you and told you that all is going to be okay? Don't worry. You're going to be fine. It's going to be safe. Just jump. Will you? Most probably and most likely not. Why? Because you don't trust and have confidence in what I'm telling you and what I'm promising you. And I don't blame you. What if I told you that there are people that do exactly just that? They go in an airplane, they get 40,000 feet above sea level, 900 kilometers an hour, and they jump out. And they do it again, and again, and again. These people, we know them as skydivers. They go in an airplane, go up, jump out, open their parachute, and come down safely. And they do this every single time with no fear. You know why? Because they have confidence and they have trust in an invention called a parachute. They have confidence in this invention. They know it inside out. They're very well versed in this invention that they fear not jumping out of an aeroplane. And they're so convinced, they're so confident in this invention, they can argue with you that it is safer to jump out of an aeroplane using a parachute than driving your daily car. Why? Because they have confidence in this invention. Now use this example I gave you to understand the concept of confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal. When Allah tells you do and don't do, when Allah tells you halal and haram, when Allah tells you believe in me and in none other than I, it's where you're standing now in the airplane and you're being told to jump. These are the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Do and don't do. Halal and haram. Now depending on how well versed you are in the command, in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal, depending on how well versed you are in the Quran and the Sunnah, depending on how well versed you are and how much trust and reliance you have on Allah Azza wa Jal, will you attend to the command of Allah Azza wa Jal by doing and not doing? So the more well versed you are in the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal, the more connected you are to the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, the more connected you are to the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, the teachings of the Prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, the more confidence you will have in Allah Azza wa Jal, the more trust and reliance that you will have on Allah Azza wa Jal, the more trust you believe, the more confidence you have in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal. So when will you leave the haram in all its ways, shapes and forms? You want to know when? When you have confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal and trust Him and believe in His promise that when you leave the haram, Allah will replace it for you with something better. When will you attend to the command of Allah Azza wa Jal and be patient on the command of Allah Azza wa Jal? I'll tell you when. When you are well versed in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal, when you have reliance on Allah Azza wa Jal, when you trust Allah Azza wa Jal that He will reward you for your patience and your perseverance. When will you be proud of your identity? When will you as a Muslim be proud of being a Muslim without compromise? I'll tell you when. When you believe, when you have trust and reliance and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal, that the end result, that the success at the end is for the believers. Now one can claim to have a thiqah, to have this thiqah in Allah Azza wa Jal, to have this reliance on Allah Azza wa Jal, to have this confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal and trust in Him. Everyone can claim what they wish. But your claim, when it's uttered, will be tested. And so will all other proclamations that you make. Allah will test it. لِيَمِيزَ اللَّهُ الْخَبِيثَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبِ. So Allah Azza wa Jal can decipher. so that Allah Azza wa Jal can decipher those that are truthful from those that are wicked. Alif Lam Mim. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فلا يعلمن الله الذين صدقوا ولا يعلمن الكاذبين. Do you think you'll be left to say I believe without being tested? This is the sunnah of Allah Azza wa Jal with all of His creation. That He will test you as He tested those before you. So Allah can distinguish those that are truthful from those that are liars. Because if you want to be an ally of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah only accepts those that are truthful. So you will be tested, as Allah promised. And you will be put on a crossroads. You will be put on a crossroads, no matter how significant or insignificant you may think it is. You will be put on a crossroads where you have to choose between confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal and His orders and His commands and His promise, and your desire and your intellect. You will be put on a crossroads between accepting and submitting and rejecting. And those that submit are not like those that reject, for each has a result. Let's take an example. Let's take an example of those that submitted and showed reliance and trust in Allah's command, and those that rejected. Musa alayhi salam and Bani Israel. Musa alayhi salam, we all know this story and we've crossed it many times. When he was wedged between the ocean on one end and Fir'aun and his army on the other end. فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَتِ الْجَمْعَانِ قَالُوا إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ فلما تراءت الجمعان قال أصحاب موسى إنا لمدركون. When there was no way out, when there was, as it seemed and appeared, no way out, Bani Israel told Musa, إنا لمدركون, we are perished. خلاص, there's no way out. We can't go into the ocean, and Fir'aun and his army are coming our way. Listen to the confidence and the trust that Musa had in Allah Azza wa Jal. In the dying moments before destruction, قال كلا إن معي ربي سيهدين. He said, no, I will not accept this statement of yours. I will not accept what you're uttering. I have Allah Azza wa Jal and He will make a way out for me. And so did Allah Azza wa Jal make a way out for Musa alayhi salam and his people. Allah Azza wa Jal, because of one man's confidence and trust in Him, saved an entire nation. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَأَنْجَيْنَا مُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ أَجْمَعِينَ. That Allah Azza wa Jal not only saved Musa, but everyone that was with him, because of their confidence and the trust. When they said we are perished, he said, no, we're not. Because Allah promised me and Allah will fulfill His promise. Now let's take an example of those that did not have trust in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal. That did not have confidence in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal. Bani Israel. When Musa alayhi salam told them to enter upon the promised land, when he told them to enter upon the promised land, يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين. Enter upon the land and you will be successful. قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوما جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا منها فإن يخرجوا منها فإنا داخلون. Said Musa, we're not going to enter. There's a tyrannical people in there. We're not going to enter until they leave. If they exit, we will enter. قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم ادخلوا عليهم الباب فإذا دخلتموه فإنكم غالبون وعلى الله فتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين. Listen to a person and his response Listen to a person that has confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal. He told them, enter upon them. Just do what you are commanded to do. Have trust and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal's promise. Enter upon them and you will be successful. They were on a crossroads. They had to take a decision. They had to either enter and submit and have confidence or reject. So they made a decision. قالوا يا موسى إنا لن ندخلها أبدا ما داموا فيها فاذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إنا هاهنا قاعدون. They said, "Oh Musa, we're not going to enter so as long as they're in there." They rejected the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. They did not show confidence and trust in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal. And as a result, they were punished for 40 years. One sin where they showed rejection in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal, rejection in the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. قال فإنها محرمة عليهم 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض فلا تأس على القوم الفاسقين. They were punished for 40 years. They were not given a land for 40 years because they rejected to enter as they were told. This is the example of someone that chooses to attend to the command of Allah Azza wa Jal and someone that chooses to reject. Someone that believes, has confidence and trust in Allah's promise, and someone that does not. So now put yourself on this scale. Put yourself on this scale and ask yourself, because we've all been there. We've all been tested with a crossroads. No matter how significant or insignificant it is, we've all been put on this crossroads. What have we done and what have we chosen? Because each choice has a consequence. Those that chose to have trust and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah made a way out for them, as Allah promised him. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. As for those that rejected, wanted to use their intellect, wanted to use their desire, did not show confidence and trust in the command and in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal, then they were punished. As Allah says, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُ عَنْ كَثِيرٌ. That no calamity befalls you, except because of a sin you do. مَا نَزَلَ بَلَاءٌ إِلَّا بِذَنْبٍ. That no sin comes down, no calamity comes down, no hardship, no trial befalls you except because of a sin. Because of a sin. And a sin usually translates into desire, rejection, translates into the lack of promise or the trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us our sin and to teach us and to allow us to be dutiful servants. إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيا فوز المستغفرين. الحمد لله وكفى ولا عدوان إلا على من ظلم وبغى والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث المصطفى صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته واكتفى بهديه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. This Monday is the day of Ashura, the day when Allah Azza wa Jal saved Musa from Fir'aun, as we mentioned earlier. An example of full trust and confidence in the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal. This day is so significant in the eye of Allah Azza wa Jal that it is made a day to remember up until the day of judgment, until the end of time. This day, the day of Ashura, is to be remembered until the end of time. It's a day that is marked by worship, where we fast in remembrance of Allah, in the remembrance of Musa's trust and confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal's promise. It's not about the ocean being split. This is not why we remember this day. Because Allah's command is between the kaf and the noon. Kun fayakun, be and it is. This is Allah's command. And everything upon Allah Azza wa Jal is easy. What we remember is this confidence. Kalla Inna ma'ya rabbi sayahdeen. We remember this confidence and this trust that Musa alayhi salam showed in Allah Azza wa Jal and His promise. And as we mentioned earlier, that Allah Azza wa Jal through Musa alayhi salam saved the entire nation because of His confidence. When they showed weakness and doubt, He showed confidence, and Allah saved them all because of this confidence. Not only them, we even benefit from this confidence. The person that fasts the day of Ashura, he is given a reward in where 1 year of sin, bi'idhnillah, will be wiped. The one that marks the day of Ashura. So use this day as an example to renew your confidence and your trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Use this day to renew your confidence and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal as a statement that no matter what hardship you're in, no matter what calamity you're in, no matter what crossroads you're on, if you show confidence and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will make a way out for you. So use this day, the day of Ashura, use it as an example and a statement to show confidence and trust in Allah's promise, to be proud of your identity as a Muslim, because the end result is for the believers. Use this day to make a statement to Allah Azza wa Jal that you will attend the command of Allah Azza wa Jal and that you will stay away from His prohibitions. This is a great example for those that seek examples. And on that note, it is also prescribed with fasting the day of Ashura to fast a day either before and or after. So the day of Ashura is on Monday. It is prescribed for you to fast with it Sunday and or Tuesday. So these 3 days are blessed days. Use them to remember Allah Azza wa Jal, to renew your confidence and your trust in Him and in His promise. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم يا سامع الصوت ويا سابق الفوت ويا كاسي العظام لحما بعد الموت اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا اللهم ارحمنا وتب علينا وتقبل منا لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إننا كنا من الظالمين ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات بكرمك يا ربنا قريب مجيب الدعوات وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين